International English Language Testing System. This is the IELTS Specimen Listening Test 1995. Instructions. You will hear a number of different recordings, and you will have to answer questions on what you hear. There will be time for you to read the instructions and questions, and you will have a chance to check your work. All the recordings will be played once only. The test is in 4 sections. Write all your answers in the listening question booklet. At the end of the real test, you will be given 10 minutes to transfer your answers to an answer sheet. Now turn to section 1 on page 2 of your question booklet. Section 1. You and a friend are looking for a place to live. You have a list of places and go to see the housing officer to check on a number of points. Listen to the conversation between your friend and the housing officer and complete the list. First, you have some time to look at questions 1 to 6 on the housing list. You will see that there is an example which has been done for you. On this occasion only, the conversation relating to this will be played first. We're looking for somewhere to live and have this list, but there are 1 or 2 things we'd like to know about some of the places. Can you help?
Yes, of course. Oh, yes, you've got the right list there. What do you want to know?
Well, what about the one on Salisbury Road? We've got the number of rooms, and we know it's unfurnished, but how much is it a week?
Let me see. That one's £120 a week.
The accommodation in Salisbury Road costs £120 per week. So in the example, £120 has been written down in the price per week column for 82 Salisbury Road. Now we shall begin. You should answer the questions as you listen, because you will not hear the recording a second time. Listen carefully and answer questions 1 to 6. We're looking for somewhere to live, and I've got this list, but there are 1 or 2 things we'd like to know about some of the places. Can you help?
Yes, of course. Oh, yes, you've got the right list there. What do you want to know?
Well, what about the one on Salisbury Road? We've got the number of rooms, and we know it's unfurnished, but how much is it a week?
Let me see. That one's £120 a week.
Okay. And what about the one on Wicken Street? It looks quite central on the map, but it doesn't say how big it is or what the price is.
Well, let me just check my files. I think it's quite a new one. Yes, it's got a double bedroom, sitting room, kitchen and bathroom. It's on the first floor of a very nice house, and the owner, Mrs. Jarvis, wants £90 a week.
That's a little expensive, but I think we could manage it. What about the rooms on Silwood Road? How many are there?
As it says on the list, there are 2 of them, and you have to share the kitchen and bathroom. But if you're friends, that shouldn't be a problem, should it?
No, we'd quite like to go and see them. Do you have a telephone number we could ring?
Sorry, didn't you put it on the form? It's 742-735. That's the Brighton number, of course. So that's 01273-742-735. It's a nice area, and it's near the railway station, which is an advantage.
Yes, we did want to be central.
The other one that's central is 164 Preston Road.
164 Preston Road. Oh, yep, I've got it.
Quite cheap, too, only £68, and it's on the ground floor. You ought to go and see the rooms at Mrs. Tonks in Harrow Road. They're very nice as well.
Sorry, what was her name? It's not on the form.
Oh, isn't it? It's Mrs. P. Tonks. That's Tonks.
Thanks for all your help. We'll try and go and see a few of them this week. You decide that you would like to talk to Mrs. Jarvis. Look at questions 7 to 9. Now listen to your friend's telephone conversation with Mrs. Jarvis and answer questions 7 to 9. Write no more than 3 words for each answer.
Brighton 774621.
Hello, is that Mrs. Jarvis?
Yes, that's right.
We're studying at the university, and the housing officer has given us your name and address. Is the accommodation still available?
Yes, it is. The present students are leaving soon, so it will be ready in 2 weeks' time.
That's good. I wonder if you could just give me a few more details.
Yes, of course. What would you like to know?
Well, is there a phone?
Not in your rooms, but there is a payphone in the entrance hall. It's all quite well furnished, though. It's got a television, fridge, washing machine, and a new stove. The only thing you'll have to bring is your bed linen. I don't provide sheets, blankets, or towels.
That sounds nice. What kind of heating does it have?
Well, there's a radiator in every room. Look, why don't you come and have a look round?
Thank you very much. When would it be convenient?
What about tomorrow? I'll be in all morning.
Yes, that's fine. What bus should we take?
Oh, the number 72. It stops right outside the house. And buses run to and from the university every half hour.
Thank you very much. We'll see you tomorrow morning then. That is the end of section 1. You now have half a minute to check your answers. Now turn to section 2 on page 4. Section 2. You are going to hear the President of the Australian Association give his welcome address at a convention. First, look at questions 10 to 14. As you listen to the first part of the talk, answer questions 10 to 14. Could I have your attention for a few minutes, please? Allow me to introduce myself. My name is Norman Flagstaff, President of the Australian Retailers Association. On behalf of the organising committee for our 3rd annual Retailers Convention, I'd like to welcome you all, some who have come from as far as Brisbane and Melbourne, to this wonderful convention centre in our fair capital, Canberra, and hope you make the most of your stay here. We've been very lucky with the weather, and I sincerely hope that it keeps up for the rest of the week, and maybe even the following. Oh, I'm sure we won't be that lucky. I'm pleased to announce that we have received a record number of registrations for this year's week-long convention. For the first 5 days, we will be hosting more than 250 participants to the lectures and workshops, and hopefully up to 300 will be coming for the following 2 days of commercial demonstrations. Another first is that we have a record number of speakers, up from 20 last year to 25 this year, as well as having 3 guest speakers from abroad, who I'm sure will provide us with a great deal of information about how business is conducted in Britain, and also I think it's the United States, is it? No, sorry, Canada. And no doubt we'll be able to offer other overseas speakers in the next few years from different countries. Now look at questions 15 to 20 on pages 5 and 6. As the talk continues, answer questions 15 to 20. For those of you who won't be attending the lunchtime meeting, there are plenty of places to go. The famous Italian restaurant, Baroni's, is not too far from the convention centre. From the centre's entrance on King Street, just go straight across the street to Milne Park, through the Heroes Arch at the other end of the park, cross William Street, and it's right next to the bank. The Jumbo Sandwich Shop for quick snacks is also nearby. From the centre, just turn right up King Street and turn left into Queen Street. Go down Queen Street until you get to William Street, then turn right. You'll spot it right next to the William Street Underground station. Slim's Vegetarian is also nearby. Just turn left as you leave the centre into King Street, cross over Elizabeth Street, and it's on your left, directly opposite the church. Finally, the Geneva Bistro is always a popular place in this area. It's located behind the church on William Street. Please make sure you're back on time though. We don't want to finish too late. On to the second part of the day, and I'm afraid we have to make a few amendments to the program. It's important to note that the afternoon sessions will begin at 2:30 p.m. and will be finishing at the time indicated on your program. There have also been a couple of venue changes. The first being the talk on marketing by Jane Howard, which will now be held in the green room on the second floor, the green room. The workshop on distribution of goods will not be given by Sarah Moore, but by her sister Barbara, due to an unforeseen illness, in the red room on the second floor. We send Sarah our best and hope that she's back on her feet in no time. It's good of Barbara to step in right at the last minute. Finally, the workshop on advertising by Peter Newstead has been cancelled due to an airline dispute. On Friday, we'll be starting off the day with a new video presented by the Dow Keith Company as part of their opening lecture on merchandising. That's Friday the 27th. That's all for the moment. If you require any further information regarding the convention, you can talk to one of the many convention helpers who are wearing the distinctive blue and gold jackets. Oh, one thing before I finish. If there are any problems with times and locations of the day's activities, please remember that there is a notice board on the first... Is it the first? Yes, the first floor, if you can't find anyone to help you. Well, we hope you enjoy yourselves, and we look forward to seeing you again. That is the end of section 2. You now have half a minute to check your answers. Now turn to section 3 on page 7. Section 3. In this section, you will hear a discussion between 3 students, Matthew, Alice, and Jenny. In the first part of the discussion, they are talking about the coffee and food in the different common rooms at their university. First, look at questions 21 to 24. Note the examples that have been done for you. Now listen to the first part of the discussion and answer questions 21 to 24. Complete the table showing the prices and types of coffee sold in each common room.
Well, Alice, what did you think of the lecture?
Interesting. Quite interesting, Matthew.
Oh, by the way, have you met Jenny?
Hello, Matthew.
Hi there, Jenny. Alice and I are flatmates. Are you studying sociology too?
Yes, with psychology.
Oh. What's the coffee like here in the European Studies Common Room, Alice? I haven't been here before.
Oh, not bad. It is instant. 20p a cup.
20p a cup for instant coffee. Isn't there any way you can get real coffee?
Yes, the common room in the Development Studies building has a real coffee machine. It costs 25p a cup.
Oh yes, I've seen that. But you have to have the correct change.
I think you can get espresso coffee in the Art 3 building, in the second floor common room. It's a bit cheaper, 23p a cup up there.
What about the American Studies Common Room? Has either of you tried the coffee there?
Yes, Matthew, I have. They have real coffee too. Let me see. Now, I think... No. I'm pretty sure it costs 25p in the American Studies Common Room too.
Well, I suppose an extra 3 or 5 pence for real coffee is probably worth it.
In the second part of the discussion, Matthew, Alice, and Jenny talk about conducting a survey. Look at questions 25 to 32 first. As you listen to the discussion, complete the table showing the number of points, 1, 2, or 3, awarded to the food offered by each common room. One has been done as an example. Listen carefully and answer questions 25 to 32.
Perhaps we should write a student guide to eating and drinking on campus. Brilliant, Jenny. We could use it as the basis for the survey we have to produce for our first term project. You know, we could compare prices, availability of hot food or sandwiches, and comment on the quality and value for money.
Okay. Let's start with ourselves and the food as a sort of dry run. We could award points. For instance, if the food is adequate, we could award 1 point. 2 points if it's good quality, and 3 points if it's of good quality and we also think it's good value for money. For instance, if the portions are generous and if it's not too expensive. Let's try that and see. You start, Alice. You're the one who knows about sandwiches.
Right. Here in the Euro Common Room, the sandwiches are possible. Maybe worth 1 point. No more than that. But in Art C, well, the better. Quite good really, but not particularly cheap. I don't know about somebody's anywhere else.
Well, that's fine, it's a start. Jenny, have you any opinions about the food?
Well, I agree with Alice about the sandwiches. The Art C ones are better than the ones you get here in Euros, just 1 point for Euros. But they are quite expensive, so I will give them 2 points. That's what you were suggesting, wasn't it, Alice?
That's right. I agree with what you said earlier about the fish and chips in the refectory. They're good, but certainly not cheap. 2 points from me for them.
Oh, come on, Matthew. You get huge portions and they're not greasy. I think they deserve 3 points. I agree with Matthew.
It doesn't matter. We can make a subjective questionnaire to get opinions, and provided we get enough students to fill them in to make them statistically valid, we can find out what the majority of students prefer. Everyone is allowed to give their opinion. It's not a matter for argument.
Okay. Well, then I'd give 3 points for the pizza and the American Studies Commoner. Are you writing this down, Matthew?
Yes. I think we should choose for our questionnaire, as we've done ourselves, 1 hot dish from each eating place to gather opinions about, unless there are only sandwiches. Let's keep things fairly simple for the moment.
I was thinking about the pizza. I thought it was quite expensive, really. I wouldn't give it more than 2 points. I'm going to have to dash. Could we meet up tonight to sort out our questionnaire, to see whether the format based on our views will work?
That's fine by me. Let's say 7:30 at our place. Is that okay by you, Alice?
No problem. Can you manage that, Johnny? Yes, that's fine. I'll see you later. Bye.
Great. Well, I think I'm going to enjoy this part of the Consumer and Society course.
That is the end of section 3. You now have half a minute to check your answers. Now turn to section 4 on page 8. Section 4. You will hear an extract from a BBC television program on acid rain. First, you have some time to look at questions 33 to 40. Now listen carefully and answer questions 33 to 35. Tick the relevant boxes in each column.
Acid rain is a problem facing many countries at the moment, and a global solution is required. One of the most concerning elements of the problem is that it disturbs the natural balance of lakes and rivers, poisoning fish and wildlife, and it even corrodes metal and stonework. In parts of Scandinavia, thousands of lakes are so polluted that they can no longer sustain fish life. Acid rain isn't an entirely new phenomenon. Its effects started around the time of the Industrial Revolution of the 19th century, but it's getting worse. Britain contributes to the pollution problems in Denmark, Holland, Sweden and Germany. And at present, we produce as much sulfur dioxide in the UK as France, Germany, Sweden, Norway, Denmark, Austria, Switzerland, Luxembourg and the Netherlands all put together. Most of this pollution is caused by power stations, which have emerged as a result of Britain's rich coal deposits. But France, on the other hand, derives 3/4 of its electricity from nuclear power. But there are things we can do to help the situation by reducing the amount of chemical pollutant we release into the atmosphere. And in Japan, Germany and the United States, power stations use a line filtering process which removes around 90% of sulfur emissions.
Now answer questions 36 to 40. Write no more than 3 words for each answer.
At Loch Fleet in Galloway in the south of Scotland, a similar experiment is being conducted by British Coal and a number of other electricity boards. Fish stock here began to decline in the 1950s, and within 20 years there were no brown trout left. By injecting lime into the land around the water and neutralizing the effects of the acid, scientists have created conditions in which fish can survive. This may be one solution, but we need to consider how to control sulfur emissions. Well, one way, of course, is to scrub out the sulfur dioxide by means of limestone slurry. Very effective, 90% in fact. But it does have the disadvantage of being expensive, which will put up the cost of electricity 10 to 15%, which may cause difficulties for British industry. And it has its own environmental problems because the limestone has to be dug out of the ground, often in very attractive parts of the country, transported to the power station, and we have eventually a large waste disposal problem. Alternatively, you can use imported low-sulfur coal. We might increase the amount of natural gas we burn, or even increase the size of the nuclear power program. But there are environmental objections by many people to nuclear power.
That is the end of section 4. You now have half a minute to check your answers. That is the end of the listening test. At the end of the real test, you will have 10 minutes to transfer your answers to the listening answer sheet.